What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to this video on my impressions of episode 1 of The Last of Us HBO TV show. You guys on this channel may not know that I do play other games other than God of War Ragnarok. I actually play a lot of other different types of games, and The Last of Us is one of them, a game that I have adored ever since 2013, played the remaster, played it on grounded mode, and bought the part 1 remake when it came out. I love The Last of Us. It's one of my favorite games ever. So really, I'm making this video for 2 reasons. One, for us to be able to talk about other things outside of God of War, other games and TV shows that may be related to games and stuff like that. And 2, to talk about how insanely good this video game adaptation is. I mean, it's crazy. When I first heard it was coming out, when they were making it, when all the announcements were done, I was very worried and completely blown my expectations out of the water. To give you guys a little heads up, the way that this is going to go is that I'm not going to talk about any spoilers in the first part of this, and I'll very clearly say there'll be a spoiler section so I can quickly go over some other stuff that's quite cool, some other little things that I found interesting, so you guys don't need to worry about that. So if you haven't seen it, I mean, I highly recommend it already for you to go watch it, but if you have seen it, you can stay all the way to the end. If you haven't, you can just stop whenever I say spoilers, okay? Enjoy. Okay, so first things first, the thing that I most want to talk about is how much attention to detail, in terms of detail for making a very good TV show, and how much attention to detail they've played in trying to make it as similar as possible to the video game. To the people who have played the video game, you must have noticed how close everything is to what we played. On a production level, this thing is immaculate. Everything looks so high quality, looks so realistic. All the explosions look so fantastic. All of the background lighting, like there was parts where there were like flares going up from like military vehicles, etc. Those casting different color lights on characters' faces from in the distance, etc. It was so cool, and I felt like I was in an apocalypse that was just starting. It was so cool. I think this is one of the best produced TV shows ever. It's so good. And in terms of how much attention to detail they paid for people who have played the game, you guys will know it almost follows the beginning of the story exactly beat for beat. Granted, there's stuff they have to cut out there because there's parts where players are controlling the game, so that stuff is kind of boring if you're watching it as a TV show. But there's so many little things. The conversations between characters, I was like, oh my god, I've played that, I've experienced that. Was really awesome, and they did it again here. And different locations, you see some parts. Sometimes you'll just see like a row of lights. You guys might know what I'm talking about on a deck area. You see that and you're like, oh shit, oh, we're coming up to this bit. Oh, I can't believe we're coming up to this bit. That kind of stuff. A house on fire, but like, I know. Such great attention to detail, so faithful to the source material. And that's really the biggest takeaway I have for The Last of Us TV show. We hear all the time about like how someone tries to make either an adaptation of a video game or a book, and no one really wants to copy word for word or copy scene for scene what was done before, because it doesn't add anything to the medium, and directors like want to put their own flair on it so they can make their own mark on stuff. But then I always wonder, why are you making an adaptation of a video game or a book if you're going to make your own thing? You might as well make your own story then. What's the point in that? But that's still how they feel. And then we get like people that are upset that things have changed. They've changed too far from the source material, and it doesn't feel like the thing it was intending to. Witcher. The Last of Us seemed to be almost bang on, or as close as you can be, in my opinion, to the video game. There's minor little differences that no one cares about. Maybe a character doesn't look 100% so, but no one cares about that because they play the character exactly the right way. They are, the relationships and everything appear, at least in the first episode, spot on. And they nail that feeling of dread that you get from The Last of Us. And, in my opinion, add just a little bit more on top. I'll save that for the spoiler section in a moment. I won't talk about that just now. But the attention to detail, the production value is just through the roof. I'm absolutely in love with that part of the show. The casting, you always worry it's not going to be able to live up to, especially when there's such a perfect example of in the game. You always worried it's not going to live up to that level of quality, or that level of finish, of storytelling, because you're like, oh, it was told so perfectly here by these guys right here. How can you nail that again? How can you capture lightning in a bottle twice? And somehow they seem to have done it. I mean, Pedro Pascal, his accent that he's put on for this role is amazing. I didn't know he could do that. It's not 100% the way that Troy Baker did it, but it's so close, and it's so good. I really like it. Bella Ramsey as well, I think fantastic. I can't believe that we've managed to get two great Ellies in one lifetime. It's so fantastic. Ashley Johnson, fantastic Ellie. Bella Ramsey as well, the same. All the other characters, all so goddamn good. I really believed that this was what society would be like in the event of it all collapsing, where if a virus was to break out like that. It was so good. Man, the casting was just phenomenal. I have to give hats off to these guys, and hats off to all the directors and everything like that. I know Neil Druckmann is involved in the directing of a couple of episodes, and obviously he's been talking with them, trying to get them, obviously giving them advice in certain areas. That's why it's turned out so close to the source material. What's really strange is that apparently there were lots of interviews coming out saying that they were trying to tell the cast to not play the video games or not look at videos of the video games, so they're not influenced, I guess. And somehow they managed to come out with something that's almost spot on. Like if you look at side-by-side video, especially in one of the earlier hard scenes, it looks almost identical. I mean, they managed to capture lightning twice. That's all I've got to say there. This is unprecedented, in my opinion, how we've got a video game adaptation, and the TV show hasn't, so far, for only one episode, so plenty of room to fail, so far, hasn't taken anything away from the original game, and hasn't disrespected the original source material, and has been something good. All three of those things it's managed to do all in one episode so far. I'm absolutely blown away. It's crazy how good this show is so far. It's coming out every week on like HBO, and if you're in the UK like me, Sky Atlantic. It's incredible. I really am excited to see more of The Last of Us. I can't wait. I'm very jealous of it. There was a bunch of people, like influencers and stuff like that, who got to go to like a premiere and watch it on like an IMAX screen. And there was a clicker. If you don't know who that is yet, you'll know in the next couple of episodes. A clicker who it was like up against the wall. In fact, the one in the first episode when they go into, I won't say. It looked fantastic. They really are going all out on the promotion for this, and you can tell why now, because they clearly have a home run on their hand. A 10 out of 10, a great, truly great TV show that only adds to the game that we experienced in 2013, and again in the remaster, and again in the remake. If you haven't played the remake, by the way, it looks fantastic. It might be something you want to check out. No skin off of my nose, whichever one you want to go do. I'm replaying it again just because of this TV show, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it right now. All right, here's the point where I'm going to talk about spoilers. If you haven't seen the TV show yet, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but go and watch the TV show, and then you can come back and you can talk with us in the comments section about how you felt, what your favourite parts were of The Last of Us Episode 1, and we can talk from there. Right, so spoilers starting now. Oh my God, that scene with Sarah dying a second time. I knew it was happening and I still wasn't ready for it. I knew it was happening and I still was not ready to see that. The blood, the way it was just looking down, I mean, it was gut-wrenching when it happened in 2013. It was gut-wrenching last year when I played the remake when it first came out. I hadn't played The Last of Us since maybe 2016 to now. It was gut-wrenching that time when I'd just become a father and I got to see that again. I got to see it in live action. I got to see that belly full of blood, and I got to see Pedro Pascal trying to squeeze his daughter after she had passed, almost to like hold on to her life, and it was slipping away anyway. God, oh, that was brutal. That was so brutal and so good. I can't remember the actress's name that the Sarah is Sarah's mother, but she's also a fantastic actress as well. I'm just really bad with names. That's what it is. I remember like one or two people's names. Oh, that's it. I can't remember her name, but she's also fantastic. This is her daughter playing as Sarah. I think she plays one of the robots in Westworld. Absolutely fantastic. And you can tell that acting just runs in their blood. That's how great they are, and how great Sarah was in this. That was fantastic. Every character I feel like was phenomenal. Tommy, oh, just so good. So there's an interesting little thing. I don't know if you guys had noticed this yet, or if you'd seen the interviews about this from the director and stuff like that. They've mentioned that they've gotten rid of the spores that were in the original game, and instead they've replaced it with another type of mechanic. So instead you have to be bitten, it has to be contact, and with like cuts and stuff like that in order for you to be able to be infected. So you can't get infected by breathing in the spores like you did in the game, where you needed the mask and stuff like that. And it was an interesting choice. People was worried because when you hear a change about something from the source material, you automatically get worried. But it did look a lot nicer, especially in the first episode where you see the old lady where she's got the things coming out of her mouth. So the biting is like supposed to be like a bite to open the wound, and then the infections, the fungus, the infection comes in. It seemed pretty cool, and I'm sure we'll get to see more of that. The biggest thing that this episode did that I felt like was really good, was really awesome, and what it added to The Last of Us was that intro scene, that intro interview that the TV show host did with those two scientists over there. That was something that we got in the video game in a different form. We got pick up journals, we pick up like audio recordings and things like that. We find out through these messages, through scientists that have been left behind, and through like context information and other people telling stories and stuff like that. And while you did get the picture, you did go, okay, we understand what happened. Society collapsed because of this. You didn't get quite that feeling of dread that you got right there from that scientist. That scientist laid it out flat. It was like, we can destroy bacteria. We can destroy viruses. Viruses would be hard, but we can get them. We make vaccines, no problem. And it's like, so what? Fungus? And he was like, that's the one. And then he lays out a scenario as to what would happen in the world if a fungus was to get out of hand, if it was to get out of control, and the way it just takes over a human body. It could take over a body, I should say, because at that point they're like, it can never be done in humans, but like, it could take over a body, it could take over a rat, it could take over this and control it and make it do its own bidding, stop the cells from dying. It was like, oh shit, okay, I'm sufficiently scared, and oh god, it's happening right now in the next scenes. That was really good. That was something that added to The Last of Us, and I didn't think the TV show could add anything to the love that I have for The Last of Us, and that's fantastic for a TV show to do. Oh boy, that was yeah, this first episode was absolutely fantastic. Okay, let me tell you guys about a little theory about, I wish I had the guy's name. Even if I did, I probably wouldn't be able to remember because I'm so bad with names. But a guy on Reddit had a cool theory. We never really find out how the first infection starts, how everything gets is transmitted in the beginning, and how it just suddenly goes all haywire. In the beginning of the show, we see Tommy come in during breakfast time. Sarah's already made breakfast. She's made some like eggs and bacon and stuff like that. And he comes in and he says, "I thought we were having pancakes today." And they like, "Oh, we didn't have any flour, so we're not going to make any pancakes." And then we go over to the next door neighbor's house after school, when the infection is starting to ramp up. You're starting to see little weird signs of people. There's a police going by and like fire trucks and stuff like that. And the woman who's taking care of the old grandma who's like wheelchair bound, she is preparing cookies. Cookies probably has some flour in it as well. And afterwards she leaves. never doesn't come back for a while, and you see what happens is that household somehow acquires this infection, somehow acquires this, and you don't know how. Someone came up with a theory that it was the flour that was contaminated, and that's how the infection was spreading throughout all of the country. And that's how it just seemed like it was in random spots. It must have just been deliveries going around to different parts of America, and that's how society all collapsed. They didn't get it because they didn't have any flour, any of that bad batch of flour, and it's quite lucky that they didn't have any. Otherwise, our story would have started in a whole different place with a whole different set of characters. I think that's quite an interesting theory right there. No one knows if that's true just yet. It hasn't been confirmed, but that's a cool theory, and who knows, maybe we'll find out more about it later. Anyway, that's the first episode of The Last of Us HBO TV show. I am super excited. I don't know if I'll do a video for like every single episode. I just wanted to put the first one out there because I was blown away. I was one of the skeptics for all of these PlayStation TV shows and movies that are coming out. When God of War comes out, I'm going to be crossing my fingers because that's really, really true to my heart, really close to my heart. So that's going to be really nerve-wracking. But I was a skeptic, and this first episode has turned me into a believer. It's quite crazy, quite crazy. All right, guys, let me know in the comment section how you feel about The Last of Us TV show. I am going to be all over this. You guys can come to me with any theories that you might have. I know we're a big theory guys over here on this channel. And you come to me with any thoughts or any discussions you want to have about The Last of Us as well. Hopefully you guys are Last of Us fans as well. All right. Catch you guys all in the next one, boys. Bye.